Live, and centered. Gotta be centered. Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me again on this episode 14 of Meanwhile Back at the Ranch. I'm happy to be here with you. I've got my announcer voice on because I've got one now, and I'll explain about that a little bit later. But it's been a minute since we've had a new show. Because I only do it twice a month, and there was some extra time in the calendar and holidays going on, so I'm back. I'm back for now. This is actually I'll have a little more information about this later in the show, but so I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But there is I'm not going to hold a Million Movie Project episode this month because I really need a little bit of time off because of things the way that they've been going. So this is just going to be the whole December wrap up, 2023 wrap up, discussion, holiday, everything. So we're wrapping it all into one right now. And after this episode, I'll have a little break, and then I will see you in January for our regularly scheduled meetings. Okay. So if you have been playing along at home, you know that late last month, the companion book to my film, Oh Buster, Where Art Thou, has been released, and it looked like this. Ooh, nice and beefy. Now, this is my author's copy, so that's why there's the no resale banner on it, but when you order one for yourself, if you order paperback or hardback, it won't have that. That's just because that's how they do it. There's also, digital, so it's available in 3 different formats on Amazon. You just go and type the title in or my name or whichever, and it will come up. I've been getting some really good feedback about it so far, and I'm very excited about that. So thank you to everyone who has purchased a copy so far. And I've also been told that a lot of people are looking forward to putting it on their Christmas list this year. So that makes me very happy because I love Christmas. So, and gift giving and all of that. So, I love that idea. I really do. So thank you again to those people as well who are who haven't got it yet, but are looking forward to doing so. And I hope you enjoy it. And I'm gonna in a few minutes do a little surprise present thing that I hadn't said that I was gonna do, and I'm gonna read you a couple of pages. So after we get caught up on what it's all going on, um, so oh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, anyways, okay, well, just to catch you up. It's for everything that I couldn't get I've been getting some new views on these videos, so I want to recap a little bit. You can always go back and check out my previous posts where I talk in more detail about how things came to be and why I wrote this book and where it all came from. But just to recap, it is the companion book to my film, Oh Buster, Where Art Thou? And that was a documentary I made, and it's free to watch on YouTube on this channel, or you can just type it in and it'll come up. And that was where I went around and interviewed his friends, his family, Buster Keaton's friends and family, I should be more specific, fans of his, historians, and went to events and different things, and just, bounced all around the country, collecting up stories and filming locations and things like this, because I was really interested in the idea of trying to see if where I had gotten interested in Buster, if this was a widespread thing, and how he had been remembered and was being remembered in these because everything you film and everything you take in can't all make it. So I had a lot of information left over from that I knew I needed to do something with. And then I have been researching for and working on these projects for the better part of 13 years, and next year be 14 years at that point. But it's been a long time. and there was a lot of stuff that just couldn't make it in as it was. So that's where I figured, well, this, I want to keep making Buster projects. I want to keep making Buster materials, artwork, things like this. But the first thing that I would need to do is pretty much finish what I started and put all of that research and all of that, those interviews and all of the data, that I had been given into a book. And that's what this is. That's what this book is. Once again, looks like this. I know it's got a nice little matte finish. It feels good on the fingies too. I like that. So everything that I couldn't get into the movie went into the book, and it is written in it like it's the style of a nonfiction novel, which I know trips people up a little bit. And what that means is it's basically, think about like like Roots, like Alex Haley's Roots, like in the work that he did, where you write it in the style of a fiction book, but it's based in fact. And I went to extreme lengths to get it as factually correct as possible. So when you read it, you can have that confidence that I took as few interventions as I possibly could, other than just, it's not a day-to-day bullet point documentary, or rather biography, as there, because there's a lot of those out there already, a lot of beloved ones. And so I didn't, it's not like here, like a journal, like of 20 years, right? So I did have to editorialize. I had to condense some things. But I tried to keep myself out of it as much as possible to make sure that it was as factually correct as possible, and that these people were brought to life as much as they could possibly be. This is the first book or project to ever bring Buster's family in, other than just by mention or anecdote. They played a huge part in his life, and they were a very tight unit. And they, in adulthood, primarily because they weren't in physical proximity very much as youths. So while Buster and Myra and Joe were working, and Harry and Louise were in school in Michigan, so they were separate from each other. So it was very important to them to be back together in their adult life. And so you get to see who they were as people as well. And this is the first project to ever do that, to look at them and look at the unit as a whole, and as its individual parts, because they were very important to Buster. And I'm not sure that he would have been able to be the person he became in those last 20 years without his family around him, and the things that he went through. We give Eleanor a lot of credit, as we should, but this is it's about, it's also about her. It's about Harry, it's about Louise, it's about Myra, it's about other people that were very, some of his very close friends. So there's a lot of going on, and a lot to know, and a lot to learn. And I only made any kind of connection or intervention if it was on a have-to basis, because I wasn't actually there. And some of the people that I've talked to, they were there, or but in different measure. So and that's another reason why, it was verifiable. I could verify most everything I was told with fact, and I could weed out things that I knew weren't true when if I was fed something that was either wrong or incorrect, or misinformed, or a lie. I knew that I knew that I could verify that more. So that's it. Why, and it was also, as far as I could tell, the happiest time in Buster's life as well. He was very content in his later years, very happy with how things were going. He was on the cutting edge of so many things, and really getting to moment by moment live in this revival of his career. So he had a good, happy home life that was stable, and he was watching his career bloom and blossom again, and in all sorts of ways. So in that way, if you love Buster, and you know that he had a good end of life, this outlines that. I got a question a moment ago on whether or not where the artwork came from, and this is my artwork, my original artwork. I'll pull it up a little bit closer. It's all my design, but this painting, I know that the banner's kind of meh, but this painting, this is a painting that I did, and I do a magical realism style of painting. I have several styles, but in particular, this is magical realism style, and it's got him, and then his kind of the shadow of his younger self behind him. And again, this banner will not be here on purchased copies. This is just my personal copy that they send to the author with the banner across it, because they don't want you to resell that one, I guess. So whatever. But yes, this is my original artwork. This is my design. This is what the back looks like. Some words. So this is what you'll get. This is what you get when you make a purchase, and it's pretty thick. pretty significantly thick. So now that I've caught you up to speed, if you're new to this, or if you've been reading along or following along all along, and you needed a little update because it's been so long. We've been doing this particular show type thing for over a year. I started this around the end of, or when last, it would have been September-ish of 2022, where I started this to talk about how the movie and how the book was coming, and how these two things were affecting each other and were going to come out together. So last year you got the movie, this year you get the book, and I will have for future projects of a Buster nature coming. There's going to be the second volume of this book, which will be all the photos. I had originally intended there to be photos that I had enhanced and painstakingly colorized and brought and brought the quality out and removed flaws and problems and from turn of the century photography. So I had brought them into a real nice looking way, and then it became clear to me that it was just going to be too expensive to put that out onto the market. So what I decided to do is split them in twine. And so this is just the text story part of it, and what will come next, which the release date on that is TBD, but what will come next would be this, but basically Buster's life in pictures, enhanced it and not just like because there are books like that out there, like here's some pictures. It's not going to be the standard way of doing things. It's going to be I've got a design in mind for it. I've got an idea of how it's going to look, so it's going to be pretty neat and very different than anything that's out there. So it will fall in line with this. It'll be the part 2 to this, and then down the road we're I'll be releasing, the Keaton Family Cookbook and a book of all of my Buster artwork, and I've got some secret things in the works that'll be coming out. So there's lots more to come, and there's going to be a lot of non-Buster stuff coming because I've said this several times. I need a Buster break. I've been working on Buster for a very, very long time, especially this last year has been nothing but because that's just the nature of finishing a book. You live it. And as I've been saying all along, I've had to do a lot of maintenance work on this book. I had to, not only like tons and tons of research and checking and rechecking my facts and making sure that if I could verify everything, and sometimes when putting their schedules together, I could almost tell you by the hour what they were doing on certain days, and it's not that specific about it. It's more about them as people and less about their schedule of working. But it all flows together. When you're a creative person, your work and your personal life, they basically are one. So you get that a lot in this book. That's something you can expect, is to see how his personal life affected his creative life, and how his creative life affected his personal life, and how those two melded together, and how that all affected everyone all together. And you learn about their family dynamic as adults, reflecting on their family dynamic as growing up when they were younger and as children. And there are there's talks about his time in the service. There's talks about different people at different aspects of things. It's very down to earth, and it's very it's not exaggerated, and that's another reason that I decided to go self-published route as well, because I just couldn't do all that work and then turn it over to the lowest bidder to do what they would with it at some publishing house, because they purchased it and they could do what they wanted with it. So if you do buy a copy, any version, I do get a small percentage of that. So that would be nice for me. But also, I'm just like the movie, which is for free. I am super excited to be able to share it with you. And hey, buddy, I got a visitor up here, but he doesn't like the sound of my voice when I'm talking. Come here. Come here. He's telling on everybody because he only got one dinner. Okay, yeah, he doesn't like the sound of my talking voice. He always disappears when I start to talk. So we'll see if he wants to come over. He's standing right out of my reach. Oh, you want to come over, say hi? Come here. Let's say hi. Let's say hi. This is Pan. He's mad that he only got one dinner. Oh, I just got the one. Nobody loves me on this house. And I'm so traumatized because I got my arm stuck under the clock the other day. All right, go on. He did. He got his entire arm stuck under his body, stuck under a clock, chasing a treat. So, anyways, he's upset with me right now. But as I was saying, family dynamic, family story, big story, as accurate as possible. I get a little percentage of what is made, and I put the movie out for free because I wanted the Buster fans in the world to be able to have the greatest access to it for free. So that is always going to be free. And this, no, you cannot climb down. No, no. Hey, stop. Quit. Cannot climb down the back of the bed. So, yeah, that's what I want to do, is drag him out from under the bed after the clock incident. So, I do get a little percentage of this, and this does cost, because obviously there's a printing cost for it and everything like that. So, but the digital version is cheaper. It's the cheapest version. So if you're into digital books, go that route. If you are into physical media, you can get this on the paperback like this, or you can get it on hardback if you're like into the whole collector's thing. So that's enough about that. And I'd like to take a minute now before we get on to some other current events of what's going on, and see if Pan behaves or if he's going to be an interrupter throughout this. But I also, another little note is, even though I couldn't get the pictures in like I wanted to into this volume, I was still able to get some little flourishes in. I drew that, and everything, the chapter headings are handwritten, and there's some of my own personal handwriting in here, so it's still a little bit arty in that way. Put my words in the right order. So, okay, world premiere. I'm going to read you a couple of passages here. Now, this is from the first. This is how the book begins. So this is the first page-ish of. I'm sorry. Would you stop, please? Would you quit? So this is from the first page. This is how the book begins, and a few paragraphs on that. God, buddy, stop. You're going to have to free yourself. Okay. All right. I think he's going to go. Yeah, he's going. He just wanted to be annoying and complain about dinner. You know how they are. So anyways, put my reading voice on. Okay. So, I've never done this before. This is kind of a new situation, because I'm always kind of like, well, do you do readings, or do you just let people make up their own minds? So, all right. So, here it is. This is how the story begins. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Okay, I'm going to be serious now. Okay, so chapter 1. Voices hide in these corridors, fixed to the darkest corners of the mind, striking out in violent fits of desperation to be recognized. They chase, follow, and are ever present just below the murky surface of sleep in all men who have survived the trauma of war. They were not discreet, and they were not patient, but endlessly scratched at the walls of memory. And as the bedside clock ruthlessly ticked towards 3:33 a.m., Buster Keaton opened his eyes, threw back the bed covers, and sat up mechanically, resting his bare feet on the floor. The air in the room was cold, but he barely noticed as he intently watched the dark void in front of his eyes transform into a familiar scene. A train. He was always on a train, watching as ambiguous scenery flickered past, small communities that barely stuck out of the ground feuded with toxified cities where iron and concrete buildings competitively scraped at the sky. The cars swayed, and the familiar sound of clacking, grinding, chugging, shuddering, and the squeal of metal on metal harmonized to create a melancholy soundtrack that his mind could conjure at any moment for any reason. Although he was sure he'd gone to bed in his home that night, and that the year was 1943 and not 1908 or 1916 or 1932, memories still rose and fell like crashing ocean waves, pulling reason away to sea, leaving him alone in the dark to determine what was real and what was remembered. The train he found himself on changed from time to time, but on this night he held a ticket for the worst one he'd ever known. The hospital transport that raced through the brutal cold of the French countryside on a moonless night, where he was surrounded by the desperate cries of mangled, tortured, and dying men packed end to end and top to bottom in coffin-like compartments. He wore the overwhelming helplessness and hopelessness like a lead jacket during his days of indentured servitude to the United States military. Conscripted into participation in a war of which he had no business, it wasn't long into this contract on his life did he discover the real reason he had been dragged into this hellscape. Aside from some unassuming guard duties in places that required little, if any, to be guardian of, and only to assuage the appearance of favoritism, his primary function was to be used as an entertainer to generals. Little more than a private dancer, but without the benefit of compensation, he was shuttled from restaurant to brothel night after night, expected to dance and joke and recite and sing and backslap and shake greedy hands, each entitling themselves to a piece of his time. In what had the appearance of special treatment, provided no such creature comforts, and did not partition him from the constant misery suffered by every low-ranking soldier or civilian he encountered. Once the true nature of his recruitment had become clear to him, it made even less sense as to why in the pool of side duties he had been selected for this one. With no formal medical training and only a rudimentary knowledge of field medicine, there were surely those of more use and more know, like having been dropped into some lower ring of hell where he was of no real use to anyone. Much of his memories recordings of that time revealed itself in fragments years later, often leaving him wondering how he himself had survived it. Each new horror of poor men used as pawns in rich men's game returned to his conscious mind like blows over the head. Regardless, the seriousness of the mission was never lost on him, and in spite of his feelings, or perhaps because of them, he always did his best to offer a kind word or a sympathetic ear to a delirious soldier, but knew his attempts at inspiration were nothing more than another serving of lies. What really was to be said while holding the hand of a savagely wounded young man poured into a cot in pieces, crudely patched back together as he cried out for his mother. Certain cries and calls were permanently lodged in his memory that never failed to haunt him when things got too quiet and did not dampen with age. The strength and resolve he had once had the strength and resolve he had then to skillfully compartmentalize these experiences was faded now, as he made the rounds from bed to bed, notating vital signs. Perhaps in the dreams and nightmares he had in his youth, he still possessed that kind of fortitude, but he had lived a lifetime since then, and no longer dreamed from youth. He saw them all now for what they were, young men barely older than children in the delirium of ragged, endless agony. So that's the first 2 pages. And you can check out the rest and see where that goes by purchasing a copy. I know that's a little bit dismal for the beginning, but it doesn't stay that way. But there are realities of things. It's realities of war and realities of what it's like to be in situations like that. And live with it and be forced to live with it. And this was also, remember, an era when people didn't, therapy was looked at as non-existent essentially, and it was only something offered to people who were considered mentally ill or defective, in society, or so men kept these things to themselves. I guess both people, all people that experienced it, they all kept it to themselves. It was a very private affair that each individual person experienced in their own way and had to learn to live with, because this generally happened very young in their lives. So there was no way it wasn't going to affect them for the rest of it. And so that's where things begin. So, yeah, you can get that on Amazon in hardbacks, paperback, and digital copies. And I fumble through it because I'm not really good at reading aloud. That's kind of a weird thing. So you can check it out, and I hope that you do, and I hope that you enjoy it. So, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, check out the movie. Yes, it was seen as weakness. That's correct. If you shared your experience, or if you showed any kind of sign of other than just being, like a violent alcoholic with PTSD, then which was considered normal, for people coming back from war. So that's something that I think that maybe people don't think about very much when it comes to Buster, because he really did not wear that in his life. It didn't really come out too much in his work. So he managed to have some pretty decent coping skills with it, but those kind of traumas never fully go away. So it deals with a lot of his experience in the First World War, being drafted into it nonetheless. And yes, so somebody commented that there have been some good reviews. Yes, there have. So thank you to all who have left them. And if you get a copy and you enjoy it or you don't enjoy it or whatever, make sure to leave a review, no matter what, just because the more reviews, the easier it is for people who can't reach or don't know me or don't have socials or whatever, who are Buster fans looking for new Buster material. They will be able to find it much more easily that way. It won't get lost in the shuffle of things. And again, the title is Another New World, or you could just type in Buster Keaton. I'm sure it would come up for that. But always, 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 anything you buy from someone, please always leave a review. Leave an Amazon review. If you're on Goodreads, leave a Goodreads review, please and thank you. So, moving on to some more current events of what's going on. But if you have any questions as I'm going on, shoot them at me and I will let you know. But again, Amazon. Laughing, saved him. Yeah, someone's pointed out that he probably leaned heavily into comedy, because performing in front of audiences and getting the laughter and getting that kind of that positive attention really probably helped him cope with it quite a lot. And again, he wasn't he wasn't on the front lines. He didn't see as much terribleness as others did, but it's probably not a good idea to compare experiences, but look at it more on a whole and say it was so bad for everybody that you're not going to come out clean no matter what. Even if you're there to entertain people, you can't escape what's around you. You can't escape the death. You can't escape the misery, the tragedy, the awfulness of it. And then the First World War was particularly brutal anyways, and it was right between horses and bayonets and airplanes. So it's really, really, really messed up when you look at it and you think about it, about how some technology was there, but it was also very, very archaic, and there was chemical warfare. It's and to have that experience that he had of serving on the hospital train was probably more horrific than I think that we could really imagine. So but again, it gets better. It's not gloom and doom. It just we got to confront some realities as things go on, because again, a lot of people look at the people that they admire, especially if they passed away, as they tend to deify them and look at them as not real people and as little angel babies who could do no wrong and never got in an argument and never was selfish or never did anything bad or anything like that. So what this aims to do is look at them all as actual real people who are fallible and going through real life things, and not just look at them as perfect entities of history, but real human people, which sometimes gets glossed over. So okay, now moving on. Some of you who've been paying attention here know about this, but about this time last year, pretty much exactly this time last year, I have my day job is as a technical writer, and graphic designer and artist and things like that. But primarily I work as a technical writer, and for years before any pandemic stuff started, I was a remote worker, doing all kinds of stuff like that. So I've done all this for years and years and years. So anyway, about a year ago now, I didn't know it exactly at the time, but I had my job was with a company who one of the I contract. So my main contract was a company that changed their name to include AI in the title, and at the time it was like something that we didn't really know much about yet or know where it was going. But come to find out, they were harvesting my work and the work of other human writers to inform AI when the jobs start going and going and going, and you can use me as an example. Now, when you wear a contract, you know that you get paid in the weird, when the job is done, sometimes it's hourly. It just depends on who you're working for or what you're working on. But that you always have to try to keep some, keep some money back, because something like this could happen, or there could be big gaps between jobs. So at the time, I didn't know that's what they had done, and it took a while to find all of that out, figure all that out. So this entire last year, I had been without a paying job, and it luckily I was able to kind of just barely get by while I was doing this, because I was in the process of releasing the book and finishing the book. So I couldn't very well stop working on the book. So I had to keep working on the book, and I was working on pictures that I thought were going to be in there on the time too. So it took a really long time to try to, in a very hard year, to try to get all this stuff worked out, and deal with that and live that way. And it was very, very, very difficult. So basically everything, pinning that for a second, if we fast forward here to now, to Thanksgiving week, a couple weeks ago, the week of Thanksgiving, whenever I finished the book, which was just a couple months before that, finished all the cover work, all the everything that had to be done, finished. That's when I started hitting it really hard, looking for work, putting in applications and stuff, and for graphic design and technical writing and this and that. So Thanksgiving week, right before that week, some other stuff started happening. I would have been giving that whole month. I had been just giving interviews and doing tons of meetings, and I will be posting. I haven't posted all of those interviews that I've done, but I got to kind of collect the links and put them out there. So I will have some more interviews about this book and about, Buster's life and things to share with you coming up. But I was just doing endless, every day for about a month, I was doing interviews and meetings and meetings and meetings and interviews and meetings. So this is, and then things just kept getting added in. More people wanted to do interviews. Other people wanted to talk to me about different things for different reasons. I joined an independent news network. Uh, so ultimately, this is what happened. And I'm still kind of reeling from it. Thanksgiving week, Monday of that week, I had a job interview, and it went really well. Tuesday of that week, the next day, I started, I did my debut show for Revolutionary Blackout Network, RBN, Independent News Network. So it was I have a co-host, but it's on us to make the show. And so we had our first episode on that Tuesday. Wednesday had to do all kind of promotion, and Thursday is Thanksgiving. And then fast forward to Friday, or to Saturday, and I released this book. So all in 1 week, I had a job interview, a premiere episode on a news network, and and released a book. And if you think about it, like, most people never do one of these things, and it was in 1 week, and Thanksgiving at the same time. So it's 1 week that all of these things are happening, and I'm still kind of spinning from it. And since then, I've talked to some more people at this new job, and it's a technical writing job, and it looks promising, looks really good. A place that I would really like to work on, a project I would really like to work on, with people I'd really like to work with, and it sounds like it's going to go forward. So I'm super excited about that. So it's looking like the joblessness problem may have been solved. I know some of you were worried about that, and we talked privately about it some. So thank you for your psychic support as far as that has gone. And so some of those meetings I was attending to were courses on setting up our show and things like this on RBN, and meeting people, and doing tutorial work and things like this. So it was interviews, job interviews, meetings, and then that week it went crazy. So, and then again, I thought I was going to get a little bit of a rest, and then some other stuff went crazy after that. But anyway, now my schedule is going to be pretty crazy coming up, to the point that I don't really know. That's again why I'm not going to have a Million Movie Project Presents episode this month, because I really need to try to get my bearings and start getting grounded, and have a little bit of time before the new year, when all kinds of new stuff is starting. So on that note, I hope that this new schedule will allow for me to be able to get back to some artwork. I haven't, like the paintings that I do. That's something I haven't really been able to do for quite some time. I had painted that painting last year, so pretty much this whole year, maybe more than that, I really haven't gotten to do any artwork. And I do lots of different styles, and I sell on Redbubble. My handle there is Nicolette Abides, no spaces, no dashes, all lowercase. So if you intend to go buy some of my Buster work or some of my other paintings or some of my designs, psychedelia, if you're not buying from Nicolette Abides with no punctuation, no spaces, then it's counterfeit, and I get ripped off all the time. And I do get a commission off of those sales as well. And then being that it's gift season, they are running tons of site-wide sales. You can get anything there with any design on it. Like if you need a travel mug or a bath mat or a bed set or stationery stickers, clothing, whatever you can think of, they have it. Pet supplies. And it's all, not just me, but like it works by, independent artists, giving their artwork, and then the items get, or their artwork gets put on the items. So anything you need, you can get something super unique that you really like just by searching or going to an artist shop. And then they get part of a small percentage of the sale. So check that out. And, again, I've got a whole section on Buster, and can you do, okay. Yes and no. I'm not really taking, somebody asked if I could do personalized pet paintings. I'm not really taking commissions right now because of how things have been. I do commissions, but I'm not cheap. So, and a lot of people, expect, they're like, okay, I want, a painting of my 3 dogs, and here's $25. That's not how it works. It's definitely charged by hour, and I'm not cheap, and most artists aren't. But if you buy off the website, not personalized things, but that's just regular prices of stuff. You're gonna pay the same amount that you buy in a store, but it's gonna be completely unique and something that you like. So no, commissions are not open right now. I do commissions. I have done commissions. Pets, people, whatever. But again, if you want to reach out to me for that, and you're prepared to, and you understand that, and you're buying a product from someone, and an artist in particular, a professional artist, that it's going to cost. So, just right up front, just know that. But if you want to contact me, we'll see if maybe I can work something out. Anyways, I'm just not publicly advertising for doing commissions right now. So anyway, that's another thing. Because of things haven't been so crazy this year, I'm not selling soap or any of my cosmetics this year. I would have liked to have been able to, but there was just no way I could fit that in. It was just too much. And that it's making it is very physically difficult on me. So, and very time consuming. So as much as I want to be able to do it, as much as I like to be able to do it, and as much as I usually do that this time of year to try to count on some extra money, it was just not something I was going to be able to fit in with everything that happened, like looking for another day job, looking for starting at the news network, and starting and releasing this book. It just wasn't going to happen. And starting at RBN kind of came by a surprise, but I'll get to that here in a minute. So yeah, so things are a little funny this year, a little funny this month, and this whole year has been pretty hellish, I think, for most people. So I think we're all just out here doing the best that we can right now, and just trying to get through and survive. It's not been a good time, I think, for most people. So and I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm being pulled through life right now by a magnet, like, and I can't really, I don't really have that understanding or awareness of what's really going on yet, or any real perspective on anything, because it's just slammed me so fast. The RBN thing came on very unexpectedly. And I just had to fit it in, and then the job opportunity coming up, I had to just fit it all in, and all these interviews. So it's just been very maddening time in my life, that it's been kind of difficult to uh, to process it all. So I'm hoping, to give myself a little bit of time this month is to set up for next year and how things are going to go. And I've had to wear a lot more makeup than I've wanted to more frequently than I've liked to do it. I like to wear makeup, but I just don't like to put it on and have it on and I can feel it on my face. And I'm not one of those people who's just going to be like, I'm so confident and happy that I'm going to go without. No. So, no. So I do this for you. This is for you. but yeah, I have had to wear a lot of makeup and a lot more frequently than I wanted to. And I was always just kind of hoping, that I could be that hermit writer, like the old time hermit writer that just like put something out and nobody ever actually knew what they looked like or heard from them or ever talked to them ever, and they just were like, here's my crazy manifesto and you're gonna love it, and then they do. But those days are long over because you have to be personal with like your audience nowadays, and you have to be one with your products, and you have to talk about them and explain them and answer questions for people and stuff. So that's where we are. I can't be a hermit. I would love to be a hermit. I'm not allowed to be a hermit anymore. So I got a few years of just, just doing solid work with nothing to promote. So I got to do that for a while, but I think those days are over. Yes, I thank you, person. I am now forced into having to people. And I think a lot of creatives would like to be the hermit thing, where they just go and whatever it is that they do, they would just like to go and do it and not be bothered, and then just turn it out and then everybody love it. But it doesn't work like that anymore. But we're lucky, though. I am lucky that I can reach the whole world this way, or an audience, or whoever wants to read it or learn it or see it or do it or whatever. I have that capability, so I'm really happy about that. It's a very exciting thing. So again, to recap, sorry, no soap this year or cosmetics. I also do bath bombs, and it's all vegan, organic stuff made with natural ingredients, natural colorants, all that kind of stuff. So I do like scrubs and like bath bombs and primarily soap, and people have always really enjoyed these products. I make tie-dye. I've got some of it next to me, but you know what tie-dye looks like. So I wish I would have had the time and the energy to do it all. And I hope that this is something I will be able to start again. I've always tried to take it make it a permanent, regular thing. But for the past 5, 6, some years, it's really only been seasonal because I just can't, even before now, I really just could not commit the time and the energy to being able to do it. It's very difficult work. I make it as easy as possible on myself, but it's just not easy generally. So I am sorry I wasn't able to bring that stuff to market this year, but I gave you a book and I've got art out there. So there's still some of me out there that you can access. So to talk a little bit more about, okay, so I keep saying RBN. What's RBN? I think that if you have been watching my videos regularly, a few months ago, I started I'm not really the one to air, my laundry publicly, but a few months ago, I felt like I really needed to start saying something about some of the current events that were going on, but I was really hesitant to do so because this is just not where I wanted to do that. I've got the opinions. That's not the issue. It's just that I was really concerned about doing anything that would jeopardize using any kind of wrong language or incendiary language that might, keywords that might jeopardize people being able to see the movie, right? So I tried very, very lightly. And I did a big show about what happened with my job, about how, this is not just an isolated event, but, across the board, manufacturing to anything you can think of. The AI technology is being employed and used in learning and getting smarter and faster all the time. And again, not necessarily a bad thing, but without any kind of social safety nets in place, any kind of robot tax that would pay for like a UBI, for instance, we're all, we're headed for a disaster. Basically, we're really on the rocket ride track for a jobless disaster that we have never seen before. So you can go back and watch that episode for more information on that if you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Because this is not something that people really know much about just yet. But it's going to start happening more and more and more. And I was actually contacted by a newspaper in the UK after my episode asking to do an interview about people losing their jobs um, to AI, but Twitter was doing all of its stuff and it hid it from me and I didn't see it in time. So I didn't get to participate in that, but it's out there. It's happening. Okay. So moving on from that, I made that video, and I made that back in the summertime. And and then RBN, and again, stands for Revolutionary Blackout Network, and it's an independent news organization that really looks to try to look away from mainstream media and that narrative, and see, like, what's going on with things really. We know we can't trust what's going on. We're not happy with how the government is running and functioning, regardless of who's in charge of it. We just don't like how things are going, and basically it's the long and the short of it. And it's not. This there's two factions of it. I'm part of the new faction. There's an established faction, and I'm part of the new faction. And we all talk about different things. We do different things. They have a lot of mutual aid events around the country, which I'll talk about here in a little bit as well, on how that can all work, and where you can donate, because you gotta ignore these big main charities. They're just the mains get their money off the top. So if you're tired of how things are going, if you're looking for alternatives, if you're really tired of not making enough money, and about ends not meeting, and about the price of things going up needlessly, and gouging, and just the way that we run underneath our current economic system, that is really just destroying people and dividing us all, then that's a really good source of information to find out, a true and straightforward version of things. And we're not beholden. We're independent, so we're not beholden to corporations dictating what can be said, how the narrative of things can be changed. So ultimately, what happened with that is I made that video, and then right at that time, they put out a call that they were looking for new hosts. Basically, they wanted to start expanding their content on their network. And I sent it to them because I was thinking, I wrote my email. I was like, I'm putting out a book. I don't know exactly how this works in putting your narrative, but here, have this. Because I was just really wanting to promote the idea that I haven't really heard anybody else say anything about. The idea of that I just keep saying over and over and over, and I talk about it in that episode, and I've talked about it in some RBN episodes so far, about expanding labor beyond union, or expanding unions beyond labor, where we can have greater representation on the local level and the national and international levels about how we want our tax dollars spent, what we want, improvements to infrastructure. We want the prices of things to go down. We want companies to stop being able to gouge, these sorts of things, and to be able to function like a union functions without having to be part of a labor union, but something that just involves people more, is something that I'm very passionate about. So I send this to them, forget about it completely. Then right in the when all this is going down, they're like, meet with us. So I met with them, and we started going down the way, and they're like, we want people to host shows. And that wasn't really in my purview at the time. It wasn't really, it was something I was thinking to do, and I'm giving you the quick version here, but that's basically what happened. And there were other people that did actually apply and ask to be part of it. And so they asked us to tell us what you want to do, what your show is you want to do. And some of you need to pair off. If you can go it alone, but you should pair off or group up or that kind of a thing. And I'm not, group work isn't really something that I'm being team playing is really just not something I've ever really been part of. I've always just done my own thing. And I so in seen to my own vision. So that was all very new for me. So after I go through all that basically went now, and going back to that Thanksgiving week when we had our first episode, I am now the co-host of a show of, I guess it's mostly my creation, but we come together on it because it's kind of a weird story. The show is called Social Contract, and it's on it every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, which live. That's if you want to watch it live or comment, and because we read comments and questions on air. But you can always watch it on YouTube, on their YouTube channels. So what ultimately happened was they wanted us to pair off, and it just so happened that the person that said I said I wanted to do Tuesdays, and the other person that said they wanted to do Tuesdays, we didn't know each other. That's the only common thing that we had at that time. And so we were like, okay, I guess we're gonna partner up. So it was literally like being in school, right? So we start to talk and we get to know each other, and we find out we're both entertainers, and that of some measure, and that we have very similar opinions on things, both very vocal and loquacious about it, both into like the more like how the historical aspect of things works into stuff, as well as into the modern aspect of things, and we've gotten the chance to talk about unions, and we just had a big thing about Henry Kissinger and all the horrible wake of destruction that he had caused. And so we've gotten to talk about some really interesting things. We had a show where we talked about if psychedelics could change your political opinions, and yes, they can, but it's not a guarantee. So there have been some studies where that's been shown, and so we just talk about stuff. We just talk about what's going on, and things, and like again AI and UBI and things like that. So it's been really fun. It's been really interesting. It's been interesting also working as a team, because that's just not something I'm used to doing. And I got really lucky because my partner, his name's Jared. We didn't know each other going into this, but then we really hit it off, and we've got I think a really good rapport, and people are responding well to it. And we see this as like a group effort type of a thing, where we want to hear from people, we want to know what you're thinking, and you don't have to be anywhere specifically on the political spectrum of anything. If you're just not happy with how things are going, if you're not happy that you have to pay for health insurance and you get nothing out of it, if you're not happy that the inflation of everything, which is just corporate gouging and greed, is going on, it's if you're just not happy with how things are going, you can tune in, you can hear things about how we discuss it, because we're taking a more some of our other um, some of the other hosts and the other shows like to talk about what's going on very topically and just discuss the issues. We try as much as possible to look at things broadly and look for more solution based information, not just like you give you the gloom and doom thing. It's not like news reading, like if you turned on CNN or something. We discuss things. It's a discussion based show. So we go through and we'll talk about, okay, so if AI is the problem, what is the solution? And then that would obviously be some social safety nets, like health employment not being tied to your job, or health care not being tied to employment. Put the words in the right order. In UBI, based off of taxing these companies that get rid of their human workforces. And it's all there, it's all available, it's all possible. And we talk about everything, like, topical stuff, historical stuff. And we try to find solutions where we can, so it's not something that it's not like some weird, like, fringy Alex Jones type stuff or anything like that. It's we want to keep it open, we want to keep a dialogue going, we talk to the people who are talking to us live, and we've really enjoyed it so far, and it's been really nice. And we're lucky enough that he is a musician, so so far Jared has been able to play a song for us at the end of every episode. So if you just like some singer-songwriter music going on, and you want to talk to some people with some ideas, don't be intimidated by the fact that, like, maybe we're different politically. We're open to talking to whoever about whatever, because we find he travels a lot, and he finds that a lot of the time, regardless of political definitions or where they define themselves on the spectrum, that but a lot of us want the same thing. We just want to live, we want to have a good life, we want to provide for ourselves and our families, and one of our big things is we really want to community build and show people how that they can live more, learn to live more civically, because we know that this has been taken away from a lot of people. They just don't know how to do this. And somebody has commented that watches the show, says that they love the show and that they love the vibe. And he and I get along really well. We got very, very lucky in that way. So come out and check out our show, and leave some comments if you want to. We'll show them on air sometimes, depending on the conversation. Sometimes we can't fit it in because we're trying to fit in so much. It goes on about an hour, a little over an hour or so. And then you can maybe check out some other shows on the network as well. So we invite you. We invite you to join us, and we hope that we can answer some of your questions, and we can help people help people like learn to look for more out of things, and work together, and work more civically, and um, be more social with each other in ways that will be helpful. Which leads me to the last thing I want to talk about. They have one of the members of RBN, Romathea, runs a charity called Tour for the Poor. And he takes donations, which are accounted for in every possible way. Like, they're publicly accounted for if you want that to be. And it's for different projects. So I know that this is a time of year when people try to think about doing some charity work. Maybe they just don't know how. You got to avoid those big main charities. They are scams, or they have bad values. You just look into it. If you're thinking, I'll give to what's the one with the poppies. Well, anyways, just don't look at the big charities. The big charities have corporations behind them that they have to run. You got to look at these mutual aid things. And if you don't know good mutual aid, start there. And if you they do it, and also RBN does things in different areas of the community. So, like, if it is a community, like a city where you live, you could potentially go out and help. And it'd be like clothing drives, school supply drives, diaper drives, like things for children or babies and stuff like that. They feed people. Sometimes Rome will give out haircuts and things, so they try to help people in any way that they can. So it's like supply drives and things, just helping the community. So you can donate money to these causes, which will be accounted for, and all of it will be used very openly. You can always get an accounting, and it will be used for really good social programs to try to just help people one-on-one in a mutual aid thing. Nobody's keeping any of the money. And if anybody gets too much, like if they give too much money that they need for one particular project, they will either refund it or ask to roll, if it's okay to roll it into the next project. So Rome in particular, he's helped to get clean water to different places, and then it's sort of expanded in that way. So a lot of the maiden hosts of the shows are running different events and things like that you can donate money to, or you can, if they're in your particular city or area, that you can, if you want to put some time into, or donate supplies or that kind of thing. So that's always a good thing. Also, if you're just looking for something outside of the corporate spectrum, animal shelters are in huge need right now. A lot of them are overfilled because we ended up in a situation where people were very encouraged to adopt animals during the pandemic era. And then things got so economically bad, a lot of people have had to give up those animals, which is very, very tragic. Not only for the animals, for the people as well, because we know how much we love our animals, and it's been a big struggle. So, maybe you could take care of some community animals, participate in some TNR programs. That's trap, neuter, return. Not always the best option, especially if you live in a cold climate, but anything is something. So there are shelters, county shelters, city shelters that are in desperate overflow situations where they might just need some fostering help, an adoption if you can. A lot of time a lot of shelters at this time of year will run clear the shelter events, where they're trying to get as many adoptions going as possible. So you will be helping, animals in general. And, some shelters are no kill, but not all shelters are no kill. So there's a lot of animals that just, for no reason other than they just can't house them, end up getting euthanized, unfortunately. So I don't want to put this burden on people who obviously can't afford it. But if you can, and you were planning on it, and remember also, they're not toys. If you're going to get an animal for your children, you're talking about a 15-20 year commitment. Okay, we're talking about vets, we're talking about good food, we're talking about paying attention to it. So keep that in mind as well. Be responsible, please. If you're listening to me, I hope that you would be. So check out your local animal shelters. Also, there are a lot of indie rescues out there that don't have any support whatsoever, that are just trying to do things off their own money and maybe some donations. If you've ever followed the story of Biddy or Shambles, more recently, there's an independent rescuer out there on Twitter. Her handle is Feeder of Cats, and she runs just helps cats as best that she can. And there's also a Gandalf Legacy Rescue, and they're always struggling. So a lot of these people that are doing just trying to take care of animals, to get them fostered, to help out. And I'm obsessed with cats, is why I'm just mentioning cat ones, but of course dogs and everything else too. But I'm just like deeply obsessed with cats. So just that's something really huge that even just can make a really big impact by adopting, by taking over some food or litter or things like this. And they're everywhere. They're everywhere in your area, so you can always find. But you do have to watch out for scams. Watch out for scams, and just all you got to do is just Google people, like if they're if they're asking for money or donations or something, just Google it. And sometimes Google their name and the word scam, and then see if it's a real thing or whatever. But every community has this, every neighborhood has this, every city, every county, everybody has some kind of place, a shelter of some kind that needs some help, whether they're an independent doing it out of their own house, out of their own money, or if they're run by the city or the county. So one of the best places to help out is animal shelters, and you could donate time as well, if that's what you're looking to do. Another thing to look into, which also every community has these as well, food banks and women and children's shelters. So those are always in need of donations, always in need of help. Not necessarily well, in some cases they need in-person help or stuff like that, volunteer work and that kind of a thing. But if that's what you're looking for, if you're trying to look for something to do to help people out, those are the things to do. Avoid the large charities. Salvation Army, that's what I was thinking of. Avoid the shit out of Salvation Army or the Komen, Susan G. Komen Foundation. Things like this. These are horrible, horrible, horrible foundations, and none of your donation will make it to anybody. What they will make it to is their end of the year fucking party, and that's what they're going to do with the money. So and people are going to take it in bonuses, whether it's $20 or $20,000. You're going to be paying for someone's good time. But when you give to these mutual aid, to these shelters, to these independent rescuers, it's one-on-one type things. To the food banks, to the women's shelters, it's one-on-one. Your donation is, whether it's with time, money, supplies, that these things are going to directly help people in your community or just around the country. Maybe you want to, like if you're somewhere else and you want to donate to one of RBN's situations, but you live in one place, they live in another, that money will go to helping people directly. So that is, mutual aid is the way to go. And that's if you've ever had that fear that like, oh, well, I don't have much to give, but I want to do something. I want to give back. I just would like to know I helped somebody. Don't blame yourself if you've donated to these big charities. They're liars. They've got PR people. They've got propaganda out there that'll say like, no, it's a good thing. It's fine. They've got commercials, but no, you got to look to people who aren't trying to do some sort of campaign to get you to give money, that don't pay those kind of people, that literally take the donations, albeit, time, resources, items, money, and put that to good actual use. So those are the ones that I suggest looking into, and there's so many. I mean, you can just look on social media and get into some that you like. There's a real big one that I like, and they do also need donations, but it's called Furball Farms, and it's in Minnesota. They're a real big, they're a cat organization that just lets them run free. Basically, they get to, and they just got this really great outdoor space so the cats can go have their own little playground at this point. They have videos all the time. I'm obsessed with their videos. I'm constantly watching their videos. But again, there's independent people, they do really well, and they do need donations, and they do need volunteer help and things like that. But volunteer help, it's like you go clean some stuff and you get to hang out with like 300 cats. So that's cool if you're in that area. But there are other places like that. So look in your communities, Google, around things like that around you, animal shelters around you, and I guarantee you they're at overflow capacity right now because people are struggling so hard, and the homelessness rate is just unrelenting. And then again, there are some of these charities that will help homeless people directly as well. So just look in your community, Google around and see what you can find out. Um, if that's what you are wanting to do, or just post about it. Say you want to do something but you don't have any money, you can't spare the time. It's okay, don't beat yourself up over it. Just go on your social medias and share some of these things. This is the time of year when people are a little more civic minded. I wish it lasted all year long, but this is the time of year when people are a little more civic minded. So hopefully we can encourage each other to take care of each other a little bit better, whether it's this time of year or any time of year. And then if you know people that can't afford to help and are looking for something to help with, offer these suggestions or similar suggestions of what's in you. On that note, here again is the book, Another New World. uh so I get a little bit of money off of each one of these sales, and it's available on Amazon on paperback, hardcover, and digital versions. And if you buy it, please leave me a review, whether you liked it or not. I really don't care. It's okay. It's up to you. I just want other Buster people to be able to find it. If you have Buster friends or classic film lovers or history or television lovers in your life, a lot of that kind of history goes into the book. So keep that in mind for your gift giving ideas. And I hope that you all have a very safe and happy and relaxing season. Let me see what this says. I got one more comment here. Just someone encouraging people just to help other people. So yes, try to help your community the best you can. It's everything has to, we can't really count on our government, giving anybody anything or doing anything for anybody, and things are really out of control and bad right now. So anything that you can do to just help anybody out or help animals out or just help would be great. One person at a time. If everybody just could do a little bit for one other person, that even if, like I said, even if it's just by sharing the message, by suggesting some charities, then just do that. So I hope you all have a very safe and enjoyable holiday season. I hope you eat way too many treats. I have had so much peppermint candy, it's ridiculous. And I will drink all the eggnog, all the Oberweis eggnog I can get my hands on, because it is like one of my most favorite things in the world. So I hope that you are able to do the same. And I am looking forward to next year, and hopefully being able to start my new job and have new shows for you here. I will have new books coming out. More information on that later. Hoping to get back into art, so more info on that later as well. You can look forward to January, hopefully, for some updates on that stuff. And please buy my book. And if you want art, get it from Nicolette Abides, or else it's counterfeit and people steal my shit all the time. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I hope you have a great season, and I will see you next year. And you can always catch me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the RBN YouTube and Twitter feeds, and we'll talk about some interesting stuff. And feel free to throw in your comments, questions, that kind of things, and we'll hopefully be able to talk about how to make things better and the time when things are bad. So I will see you next year from here. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.